How's everybody doing? Appreciate you guys coming out. Before I get rolling, I better start with a couple of things. One is happy anniversary to my wife. It's our 13th year anniversary. So just kind of woke up this morning and just kind of like every other season, we spend it on the practice field or in preparation for game week and game day, all those things. But she's been an amazing head coach of the house, and just really thank her for all her love and kindness to me. I certainly don't deserve it most days. Also, it's the first day of class for our students on campus. Had an opportunity to speak to the freshmen yesterday, and just how exciting they are going through the freshmen to their first college class, and all the other students. So just kind of thoughts with them and prayers with them as they attend class. Also to Pitt County Schools started class today, so nobody's happier about that than my wife. We got our three kids out of the house and our three daughters off to school this morning. But as a former high school teacher, middle school teacher, and coach, just really appreciate all the educators out there. Thank you what you do, and again, our thoughts and prayers are with you guys as the school year goes. So, finally game week, an exciting week, and finally the week off, leading up to Thursday. We actually wrapped up preseason about 10 days ago and started preparation for our first opponent in NC State. So we kind of been on that routine for a little while. Practice this morning. We'll practice again tomorrow morning, and then head up on Wednesday afternoon to Raleigh in preparations for the game on Thursday. So it's always great to kick off the season. Always exciting times. But when you're kicking it off with an in-state opponent, it means just a little bit more. And this game, the history of it, been going on since 1970. Met 31 times. Just the pride that our fan base has in it. What it means to East Carolina, what it means to our fans, and what it means to our football team is pretty special. And I think games like this are just great, not only for an in-state, opponents going at it, East Carolina, NC State, but what it means to the state of North Carolina. And I think it's the highest selling ticket in college football on Thursday night. I think there's about 15 games going on this Thursday. But I think I just looked at ESPN and see how many games were on. It said $167 is where the tickets start out. So I think just if you think it from a money standpoint or economic standpoint, all the money coming off this game, it stays in the state of North Carolina. And that's awesome for revenue within our state. I think that means so much more maybe than Northern Illinois coming to Raleigh or a La Tech coming to Raleigh. I think definitely you're packing that stadium out for a special time and a special place. So, our opponent, Coach Doran, has done a great job up there. He's going into his 13th season. I think anytime in college football in this day and age, you can be around for that long. You're obviously doing something right, and just the way he builds his culture, he builds a football team. I think he does it the right way, and really respect the heck out of that. And they're a little bit different than what we saw in the bowl game. In the bowl game, we'll see some of the same players we saw there, but they have a new offensive coordinator, Kurt Roper. Coach Roper's been around. He was with Coach Cutcliffe at Duke, and then he was at Florida as the OC. He was at South Carolina as the OC. So he's been on staff there for the last several years, but he's taken over play calling duties on the offensive side. Defensively, DJ Elliott is taking over the defense coordinator role. He was at Temple back in 22. He was with the Philadelphia Eagles in 23. He was at Baylor last year. So we're preparing for both offensively and defensively some things we think we'll get, not knowing exactly what we'll get. But you kind of prepare for everything in game one. But at the same time, you want your focus to kind of be about what we do and our preparation and focus on how we execute and how hard we play with effort and those things. And then certainly you're going to see some of the same players you saw from NC State in the bowl game. C.J. Bailey, I think, is a quarterback going into his second year, who you see a lot of times a freshman quarterback, the growth he has going into his sophomore year is kind of his greatest growth. And I thought he's a really talented young man last year and played pretty special at times. Hollywood Smothers is the tailback that they'll start the game with, and I think really good exceptional speed back there, does a really good job on the outside zone plays. Justin Jolly, Noah Rogers, it's kind of his weapons at wideout, along with Wesley Grimes, and the O-line's kind of led up front by Peak. So those guys are similar guys we've seen in the bowl game. All are back, and I think they have some really good weapons on that side of the ball. Defensively, we saw Sean Brown in the bowl game. Brandon Cleveland kind of led their defense, but Caden Fordham is back. He's a linebacker down out of Bowles High School in Jacksonville, Florida. And then they've added some new pieces on that side, kind of transfer-wise. A couple guys from our league, Jamel Johnson, Brian Nelson, North Texas and Temple come to play in the secondary. J.J. Johnson from Georgia State will be playing in the secondary as well. So We focus on our opponent. We focus on what they might do and respect the heck out of them. But at the same time, as we prepare for an opponent each and every week, and obviously game one, week one, we talk about our preparation and how hard we play and playing with great effort and great energy. And a lot of that in the bowl game was brought to our fan base. So a shout out to those folks who made it up to Annapolis that day. And I appreciate the folks who's going to make it up to Raleigh this week and kind of make that a great atmosphere for our players and a great atmosphere for the game. And then the last piece of it is just, hey, making good decisions. You obviously want to play this and play the execution, but making good decisions. Offensively, defensively, special teams, doing your job, taking care of the football, and playing the call that's called. So, again, appreciate you guys being here. And at this time, I'll open it up for questions.
You mentioned it with the new coordinators on next time, 3 total new coordinators in the game. Do you expect some early filling out processes on both sides? How do you get you guys ready for that?
Yeah, I think anytime you go into game one, and neither team has had a game yet. Last year when we played Norfolk State, they'd actually had a game, so you kind of knew what to expect. Made it a little bit easier to prepare. But anytime you're going into game one, you never know kind of what new wrinkles a team could have, even if it's the same coordinator coming back. Um, so you're always kind of like prepare for those things. You're chasing ghosts a little bit, we call it, and prepare for everything that could happen. But at the same time, you got to focus on how you play the game and how you're going to stop their bread and butter plays or those things, and that's got to be your main focus. So I think if you will get some filling out, but at the same time, we got to be aggressive with how we play the game and go attack on both sides of the football.
Coach, when you look at John David Baker's offense, how much better is it now than it was midway through the season last year? How has it evolved as far as that goes?
And practice pretty good. I think that's the thing. Like you can go through all preseason camp and kind of think this is what you may have or may not have, and this is where your strengths may be and weaknesses may be. And I think Coach Baker and Caton and that whole offense is really clicking right now and doing a great job of just moving forward. But we got to go do it in a game setting. We got to go do it for 4 quarters in a hostile environment up in Raleigh in an opponent's stadium against another opponent. And we got to go do it that, not just in a practice setting where it's controlled or a scrimmage setting where it's somewhat controlled. We got to go do it on the road Thursday night up in Raleigh. So excited about it. Excited to see our guys go turn it loose. And I got all the confidence in the world in our players and our coaching staff that we're going to go up there and play the game the right way.
Last time it was really both teams lit up on third downs, and I know that was a big part of what happened in that game. What do you tell the guys about what they need to do to be successful on third down and how that can change it out?
Yeah, we practiced third downs last week. We practiced them again this weekend, and red zone as well in different situations that will rise in the football game. But I think one of the keys to victory at the bowl game was we were 14 of 16 on third down. And some of that was Caton making plays with his legs. Somebody asked me, "You going to ask Caton to run?" I said, "If it's open and he can run and get a first down, let's go do it." So we got to have that same mindset: move the sticks, move the chains, and get closer to the goal line with each and every single snap. And third down is a big piece of that and big part of that. Offensively, staying on the field, defensively, getting off the field, getting the ball back to our offense, and going from there. And then obviously, when you're in certain situations, using that extra down, the 4th down, to move the chains as well. So it was a big piece of it in the bowl game. I expect it to be a big piece on Thursday night.
Coach, with 2 new coordinators, you talked about just preparing for a lot on both sides of the ball. How do you keep your guys from not really overthinking and staying instinctual on the field?
Yeah, that's what I think it starts with me. I think anytime as a coach, you approach a game or you go into the game and you're kind of uptight and you kind of like you're worried about this or worried about that. It kind of goes over to your coaches and it kind of goes over to your players. It just kind of falls in line there. But as a coach, you got to walk around like, hey, total confidence in them, and I do have total confidence in them and the way they go practice each and every single day. They love practicing, and that's one thing I'll say about our guys is they love coming to work each day. They love football and they love each other. And if they'll continue to do those things, continue to have confidence in those guys, I think we'll go play well on game day. So that's where it starts. And if we have that mindset, it kind of takes a little pressure off and eases a little bit. And let's go turn it loose, let it ride, and make some plays.
There's a little added emotion to this game with it being an in-state team, as you mentioned. How do you what's your message to the team kind of make a naval space for performance like?
Yeah. Obviously it's an in-state game where there's several guys who know each other from maybe high school, just played them in the bowl game, so you know each other from that. Every time you turn on social media, you see something about the game, so it's hard to hide that from your players and make it a faceless opponent, as you mentioned. But I think, our focus is always, we're going to prepare for our opponent. We're going to prepare for what they do. We're going to respect the heck out of them because they've done a great job throughout Coach Doran's time there. But we got to make it more about us and our preparation, how we go about our business, how we go about our game, how we practice, how we do things. And if we'll do those things, I think it'll take some of the emotions out of it and just focus on what we do. And that certainly helps at the same time.
Coach, as a follow-up to that, you give us some of your team leaders and say, look, if you hear some chatter going on, or if you see something, you take care of it on the field because we don't want that thing to get out of hand.
Yeah, I think the best piece you can always talk to your players about educating. Hey, here's things that could come up in a game. Whether it's a certain situation that may arise. How the end of the games could go as far as the last two plays of the game. So you're preparing for everything, and that's certainly preparing for that. Control your emotions at the same time. And we talked to our players like, hey, you guys are coaches on the field. All those things. We talked about officials, how the officials may call the game, those certain things. So we got to focus on what we're doing to win a football game. That's got to be our main goal and our main focus, and where our eyes are set on. If we'll do that, then I think the other things are just kind of to the side.
Just curious, as a defensive coach, what impresses you most when you look at C.J. Bailey and some of the things he brings to the table as a quarterback?
I think he does a great job with his eyes down the field. He has his eyes down the field, and he'll scramble around. He obviously has the legs to run it and take off on you. They got some quarterback run game with him, where they're pulling guards and tackles and running counters in there, and the little two-play series they got going on. But he can make the throws too. He can make the field out throw. He can throw it down the field, and just I think he does a really good job. And they're going to change the offense a little bit for him, I think, to fit him. I think if C.J. Bailey wasn't such a big part of that offense, and no disrespect to Coach Roper because he's done a great job, but maybe they would have went outside for an offensive coordinator. It just tells you how highly they think of C.J. Bailey and keeping that staff together and keeping that offense together and keeping that culture together, which obviously Coach Roper and C.J. Bailey are a big part of.
Along the same lines, how do you limit the explosive plays? I think that was kind of changed the game last time. So
Yeah.
Closer down the stretch. How do you limit those
Yeah.
explosives?
Well, we want to make sure the explosives are for us and not them, and those good things. And we talk about playing to win. We talk about there's 6 things for us for playing to win, and it kind of covers all of this. And playing number one is take care of the football and create turnovers. I think last year we were 130th in turnovers, and I think about 80, 70 something in forcing turnovers. We got to balance that out. We got to make sure we take the ball away from them and we take care of the football. And then win the rushing battle, win the red zone battle, win the explosive play. That's a huge one. And just kind of, defensively, you got to keep the ball in front of you. And offensive, when you got an opportunity to turn it into an explosive, you got to make that happen. And we talked about it, I think, last week of just guys giving the extra effort to make those explosive plays happen down the field. And then win the red zone battle. And the last one for us is Pirates don't beat Pirates. And those are just simple things of, hey, do what we're supposed to do, stay on schedule, moving the football down the field, and taking care of business.
Just with the position battle and kicker, has anybody really separated themselves?
Yeah, we are got some really good depth in that room, and I think all 3 of those guys have different strengths for sure. Noah's kicked in a big game for us before, and really has a really fast approach to the football. Really very accurate inside 25, 30 yards there. Nick's got a little bit longer leg to him. Be his first time kicking for us at East Carolina. So all those guys, Andrew Conrad showed some flashes, have done a really good job. And going to keep, focus on those guys for the next several days and just kind of see who will roll out there first.
So you've been a head coach now in the game. This will be the first time we get to not calling defensive
Yeah.
plays. So do you try to, I don't know, how do you practice staying out of the headset, or I don't know, do you try to limit what you say, or how do you approach that?
Yeah, I think I've been wearing the defensive coaches out a little bit. Last year when I was kind of going through the interim stuff and the head coach in the bowl game, obviously was still calling plays, so I'm still running that side of the football. Now, obviously, you're responsible for the whole thing, so you're over there on both sides of the football, coaching it up and coaching defensively up and just coaching the coaches up. And they do a really good job of, focusing on our defense and getting us ready to play. And just really proud of Coach Aldridge and those guys of kind of taking this thing and going with it and running with it. But, for me, I think on game night may be a little bit different. Before when the offense was on the field, I was kind of thinking, hey, what's, obviously what we got going on game management wise, but what's the next series for defensively look like for us? How do we got to, get stops defensively and get off the field and get the ball back to our offense? Now, I don't hope I don't get bored during the game of not calling defense. I don't think I will, but it certainly kind of crossed my mind a little bit.